Hands raised.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
All right.
All right, I think we got Lieutenant Coley on the phone now, but he's muted. Marcus, I don't know if you're able to unmute the phones.
I've got one caller listener, and I have allowed them to talk. You can press *6 to unmute yourself. That is you.
He said he was in and could hear, so.
He is on top.
All right.
Oh,
well,
no,
I do.
Here. I'm promoting.
Okay.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Okay. Lieutenant Coley, can you go? On for a split second.
Can you hear me now?
Yay! Okay, unmute, and then we're... Okay, so...
The problem's connecting with the, I'm in the car, so that might have been part of the problem.
Well, we're glad to have you. The question was specifically talking about the new the housing facility that's going in for houseless individuals, the motel on 198th TV Highway, and how are we involved at Washington County Sheriff's Office?
So right now we're in a planning part of what that looks like for the Sheriff's Office. I don't have a lot of grasp on what the services are that are going to be there, but honestly, what the facility is looking at is a long-term chronic houselessness, and our involvement is just trying to do the pre-planning of what type of services we might provide on the MHRT end of it, or being on the outreach and engagement portion to make sure that that messaging is out there to help people find those type of support services.
And Lieutenant Coley and I have been working a lot with the county in partnership, trying to work on the best ways to help with that outreach. And I think the biggest thing is helping communicate, you know, if you are having concerns, like the next question, which is, what do we do about homelessness in the area? And although we've had some of these folks going through our trash cans when we put them out. So what are things that people can do to help with the situation, but also to help with their own livability in the neighborhood when they have these concerns?
So, as always, you always call in when you have a community concern. I understand houselessness. I have actually lived through that as a child. But the concern, if it's a safety concern or your own property is being violated, then you still need to call the non-emergency dispatch, and we'll try to figure that part out and navigate it.
And you can always have the option too, if you have a question or concern and you're not sure if it's a non-emergency call, you know, emergency is going to be those levels where there's an immediate threat, immediate concern to injury or someone's well-being. But if it's a non-emergency call, you can always call in. There's nothing too small. They will always mitigate it through dispatch to figure out the level of response that's needed. Or you can also, if there's non-suspect information, I'm going to put the information about online reporting. I do talk to people a lot in the neighborhood about the racing issue. There is definitely a concern about addressing that. So feel free, if you guys, see that happening, call that in a non-emergency, and feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll put my information in the chat as well. But I also want to let you guys know that there is a wonderful event coming up. We have been trying really hard at the Sheriff's Office. As many of you know, we did the Community Academy virtually. We've done our Kids Safety Academy a couple times virtually, but also next up is our Women's Power Curve. We are doing that Women's Safety event this Tuesday, and there are still spots available. So I'm going to put that registration up for you. But feel free to reach out to us anytime with any of those questions. If you're interested in things like doing kind of a neighborhood safety meeting about when is the best ways to call 911 in non-emergency, I'm super happy to help teach that. Doing a lot of internet safety classes right now as well. But thanks for having us. And if there's any other questions, let us know.
Cody, I have one thing right quick. For the person that questioned about the Aloha Inn, I'll have more on that when I talk about development applications.
Perfect.
And thank you very much for coming, and thank Deputy Cook for coming also.
Right, thank you, folks. Cody will be around throughout this meeting, so if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat for the sheriff's office. Coming up now, we have Sarah Phipps with the City of Beaverton and Jessica Pels with Washington County to talk to us about the Cooper Mountain planning.
And actually, Jessica is going to be up first, and I will pull my screen up here. All right, is everyone seeing the presentation? You get a thumbs up, maybe? Okay. Jessica.
Okay. Guess I'll take it away. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Pels. I'm a senior planner with Washington County. I know many of you have been following along on this project for the last couple years. I think we've been out to CPO6 at least once a year for the past 2 or 3 years. And now we've come to an end with the Urban Reserve Transportation Study. And so I wanted to give an overview of the study and a little background and process for those that might be new to it, and then share a little bit about the recommended transportation system plan amendments that came out of the study. Okay, next slide. So for some background, Washington County has urban reserve areas, and those are shown in blue on the map. Those areas were designated by the legislature in 2014 and were meant to provide a 50-year land supply. And they're the areas where cities can do some concept planning and ask for the area to be brought into the urban growth boundary. So at the county, at the county, we wanted to have a better understanding of how future development of the urban reserve areas might impact county roads. We know that we already have a certain level of urban traffic using rural roads and cut through, what we might call cut through. And so we wanted to know, is the county network sufficient to meet the needs of the future development areas? And so that was basically the impetus for the Urban Reserves Transportation Study. And it also built on the Cooper Mountain Transportation Study, which focused more specifically on growth within the Cooper Mountain area. And then as we got more funding to do the Urban Reserves Transportation Study, we expanded it to do all the reserves, so it gave us a better picture. Okay. A little bit more background. This was a grant-funded project by a Metro grant. And again, the desire to get ahead of future development so that we had a better understanding when the cities did do that concept and then later on comprehensive planning, we would know what kind of transportation improvements we might need. So in addition to the question of how will the future development affect the roadway network, we wanted to know where do we need additional capacity? And that might mean upsizing certain roads or maybe the addition of new roads, new extensions or connections to make a better network grid. And we also wanted to know how can we help the cities with concept and comprehensive planning from the county side. Okay. So to do this study, it was a pretty long process, about 18 months. We coordinated very closely with the cities in the county, the agencies such as Clean Water Services, ODOT, Metro, TriMet, THPRD, I think even the school districts. And we really wanted to have them help us figure out the land use assumptions. And that's a very plenary way to say we wanted to figure out how many people and how many employees would we expect to see in those development areas. And then once we have an idea of the land use assumptions, so how many people and how many employees, we have a better idea of how many trips those people generate, and we can put that into the travel demand model, and it gives us an idea of the congestion we can expect on the roadways. We also did engineering feasibility analysis of several projects, and so that means we had our consultant team go out and take a really close look at the topography and natural resources and other factors in some of the areas where we weren't quite sure where the road alignment should be. And that includes 175th, the proposed 185th extension, Shackelford Road extension, and Basalt Creek Parkway extension, and I'll show you maps of those in a little bit. But that engineering analysis really helps us understand where is it actually feasible to build a future improvement. And I want you to keep in mind these improvements this is long-term future planning. This is the probably 10 to 30 year or 40 year horizon. But we really need to understand so that when development is ready to come in, we have a good idea of where we need to preserve the right of way so that the road can be built in the right spot. And so the overall goal for this project was the analysis and the information to support the cities as they plan for those areas. Okay, next slide. So before I go into the proposed transportation system plan amendments, I should have said, and also to support the cities, one outcome of this study was a profile sheet for each urban reserve area that included all the information from the study. So it had the land use assumptions, how many dwelling units and how many employees they expect in those areas, the roadway improvements we expect to see in those areas, and other things to keep in mind for the planning as they go into those concept plans, which is sort of like a vision for the area, and then how they figure out how to implement that. So this study actually had a lot of great outcomes, and the other thing it included was an infrastructure funding plan toolkit, so we could get a better idea of how much things might cost, and we could better estimate revenues and gaps and things like that going forward. So now, what we're going to be asking the Board of Commissioners is to adopt these amendments to our transportation system plan at the county level. These are, in some cases, refinements of existing alignments that are already adopted into the transportation system plan, but through this extra engineering analysis, we were able to refine the alignment so that it works better for topography and the natural forces out there. In some cases, these amendments are new roadway connections, and they were needed to help mitigate the future traffic demand by helping provide a better grid system. And then in one case, it is a functional classification change. And so when we do transportation planning, we have different classifications of roadways, and that means how much traffic we expect them to carry. And other roads feed into higher level roads, and that's sort of a clunky way of explaining that a local road, which is Tile Flat Road now, from Grabhorn Road to Clark Hill Road, will become a collector road, and that just means when it is improved in the future, it will have bike lanes and might be a little bit wider. Okay, so now we're going to go through the maps of these proposed TSP amendments. So this is the overview map. It just shows that through the URTS study, and we call it URTS, it's the Urban Reserves Transportation Study, we really were looking at the whole county, and this is where we saw the need for these extra amendments to our transportation system plan. So first, and of interest to this group, is the Southwest 185th Avenue extension. This has been in the county transportation system plan as a refinement area for a very long time, and partly because it was always seen as a need to extend 185th down to Kimmer and to 175th, just to help provide another alternative route going north, to help take some pressure off of 170th. And from the existing 190th Gassner-Kimmer connection there that gets pretty congested today. So the engineering analysis showed that this is the preferred alignment for that extension. Again, this is a long-term future road. Probably will happen at some point with development. Probably won't be a capital project. But this goes up on the ridge, and then it's likely that there could be a roundabout or maybe just a four-way intersection. That sort of detail isn't quite figured out at this stage. Okay. Next is the Grabhorn Road curbs realignment. And part of the reason Sarah and I are doing this together is that we are working really closely together on the Cooper Mountain planning that Sarah is going to talk about more. So the alignments that you'll see here for these roads that sort of bracket or otherwise are in the vicinity of the Cooper Mountain planning area, you'll see reflected in the alignments for the Cooper Mountain planning as well. So this Grabhorn Road curves, these are primarily a safety realignment. These are two pretty dangerous 90-degree curves. Next slide. Here we have the 175th Avenue kink. Right now it is built as the dark red line. We currently have adopted into our TSP, that's our transportation system plan, the dashed straight line. This is one where we did the extra engineering analysis to determine if that was feasible, and if not, what would be the feasible alignment. So the engineering analysis identified the dark dashed line as the preferred alignment for the curve, and that puts it from a 15-mile-an-hour curve to a 35-mile-an-hour curve, so it has a better flow, will be a lot better for buses and fire vehicles and things like that. The straight line, when we looked at it, was too sharp of a slope. It was way too steep. Next slide. Next, we have the Tile Flat Road extension. This is would be a brand new road from Shoals Ferry Road, would connect at a couple points there. Jean Louise, that is in River Terrace now, Bull Mountain Road, and then possibly not all the way to Beef Bend, but likely another connection somewhere to Roy Rogers further down. And this roadway connection was shown to provide an extra parallel route to 175th and can help take some of the traffic off there for people wanting to go more north and west. Okay, next slide. This is a refinement of the Basalt Creek Parkway extension. Again, this road doesn't exist today, but it is adopted in our current transportation system plan with the dashed red line. The engineering analysis showed it needed to be refined somewhat for topography that exists in the area. And so the proposed amendment would be the dark dashed line. Next slide. And the Shackelford Road extension was adopted into our TSP with the dashed green line. So the engineering analysis did a refinement, and the best alternative was the dark dashed line. Next slide. This is another new road. This would be the Cornelius Pass Road extension from Rosedale to Farmington at Clark Hill. And if these were all built, the tile flat extension would connect right into this and would make a continuous route going all the way up, sort of more west, just kind of helping fill in our grid network out there. Next slide. This is the Tile Flat Road functional classification piece where it's dashed, the dashed dark line. Right now is a local road, so it limits the improvements that can happen out there, and in the future, it would likely be a collector level road. So we would be changing the functional classification from local to collector. Okay. I think that's all for me. I see a question in here, what's happening with the Gassner water main project? I think, is that the Willamette water supply project? If it is the Willamette water supply project, I don't have a ton of information actually on there on what the latest is. Are there any more questions for me about this part before I hand it over to Casera to talk about the Cooper Mountain Community Plan effort?
Yeah, actually, this is Sam Lauk. Let me turn my video on so you can see me. Hi. On the Grabhorn Road, straightening of the sharp corners, does that plan include making that a snow zone in the winter like 175th? Because that's even steeper than 175th is.
That's a good question. I really don't know the answer to that, but I can follow up on that.
Yeah, if you could look into that. I think if we straighten that off and then, make tile flat a collector and all the other things like the Cornelius Pass extension all the way down to the end of Clark Hill Road, it's going to attract a lot of traffic. And in the winter time when we have snow up here on the hill, I think that's one that ought to be looked into for a snow area as well.
Sure, I'll find out.
Thank you.
And Jessica, this is Marcus. I had to step away for a quick second, so I don't know if this question was already addressed. But Jonathan asked, what is happening with Gassner water main project? Was that asked?
Yes, I said I really don't know. That's a Willamette water supply project, I believe.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry.
To move on to the community plan portion. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Phipps. I am the project manager for the city's Cooper Mountain Community Plan. And as Jessica mentioned, we've been working closely the past year and a half to get this project off the ground. And I wanted to provide an update to you all tonight. So first, just starting with what this project is. It's a multi-year, we're about 1 year into a 3-year project, planning effort for the area that was recently recommended to be brought into the urban growth boundary. It's just directly north of South Cooper Mountain, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's still in unincorporated Washington County. So we're going ahead with this planning effort, and it will determine how we plan for future neighborhoods in this area. So we've touched a little bit on transportation, but we're also going to look at land use designations, how to provide just basic utilities to this area, and also considering parks and schools and everything that really makes a neighborhood. So I did want to touch on House Bill 2001 and what is sometimes referred to as middle housing. When Cooper Mountain was added to the urban growth boundary, it was prior to adoption of this new state law, but Metro actually added conditions of approval that require cities to allow for certain housing types, including accessory dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, townhomes, and cottage clusters. So we completed the concept plan for Cooper Mountain back in 2015. That's where we came up with the land use assumptions that kind of fed into the urban reserve transportation study. And that's where we see this 3,760 new homes. So we still have the same housing target. We need to provide at least that many new homes. But with this new housing bill, it may be that those homes look different than they did before. We may see a wider variety of housing types. The city does have a separate plan that's focusing entirely on compliance with this rule. But I just wanted to touch on it in case it might be kind of new news to some people, but the state law was passed last year. So that brings us on to the project goals for the community plan. First, and this is kind of the umbrella goal, is that we're trying to develop this plan, applying a lens of racial equity and improving outcomes for people who live in this area, and that includes historically marginalized communities. The second goal relates to housing variety. So making sure that we not only provide a range of housing types, but also hit on a range of incomes. So providing housing that's affordable to people from all income levels. Our third goal, and this is probably something that comes to mind for most people in Cooper Mountain, is preserving, connecting, enhancing natural resources. Next is improving community resilience to climate change and natural hazards. That could be landslides, wildfires, or earthquakes. And then we have a goal that relates to providing public facilities and infrastructure. Right now, we do not have sewer or water lines to the area, so we're planning for all of the utilities and infrastructure that are needed. And part of that is also the transportation system. So making sure that we provide access not only between neighborhoods, but to important destinations. That could be the nature park, it could be schools, the fire district site, and also making sure that we are providing connections into nearby developed areas such as South Cooper Mountain. And then this might be new for anyone who participated in the concept plan, but we're actually looking at potential commercial uses in Cooper Mountain. The concept plan shows all residential land uses, but we're just revisiting that to see if it might be viable. And then the last goal is really about funding. How do we make this happen? There's a pretty big price tag when you add up, all of the wants and needs. And so how do we come up with a funding strategy that's grounded in reality and is also equitable? This shows the overall project timeline. We are really at the beginning of phase 2. We recently wrapped up all of the research and analysis. If you go to the project webpage, you'll see all of the reports and inventories that were completed under phase 1. And we are really just in the process of developing alternatives. So by the end of this year, we're going to have different concepts for land use and transportation, and we'll have 3 of those, and we'll be asking the community for input. From there, we're going to develop a preferred scenario, and that's what we're going to base all of the kind of technical analysis on, our funding strategy, the traffic impact analysis. We have to do environmental assessments. So that's going to be completed after we identify the preferred scenario. And then we'll also develop the policies, development rules, and other implementation actions to really put the plan, bring it to life, I should say. One thing I want to point out, and this is different than how planning was completed for South Cooper Mountain, is that we don't plan to bring this area into the city limits until after the community plan is complete. And then this timeline also shows there's engagement occurring throughout this whole process. And there's also a parallel utility plan project, and that's looking at how to provide sewer, water, and stormwater services to the area. So I wanted to highlight a couple of the opportunities, what we're calling opportunities, that came out of the research phase. One is really looking at protecting the highest quality natural resource areas, particularly those that are adjacent to the existing nature park, and preserving wildlife corridors, not only within Cooper Mountain, but maintaining connections really to the broader habitat area in Tualatin River. And then the map on the right, as Jessica mentioned earlier, we're trying to incorporate the findings and recommendations from the Urban Reserve Transportation Study. And so we do have a kind of first cut at a transportation framework. This just shows the roads, not the trail network. But you'll see that we're thinking about how to provide alternative routes to 175th to maybe provide a little bit of relief to that corridor. And this map shows where we anticipate really just higher levels of new development to occur. These circled areas are what you could call new neighborhoods, new potential neighborhoods. Where there's more vacant or developable land, it may be less constrained by natural resources. So when you look at the streets that are coming out from South Cooper Mountain extending north, we can then think about, how do we connect all of these areas, taking into consideration the existing topography, natural resources. If we were to have commercial uses, where's the most appropriate place? These are some questions that we're going to be asking the community coming up this summer. And this just shows those main corridors on the previous slide, how we might be able to connect some of these new neighborhood areas. So next steps, we are holding advisory committee meetings. We have our next community advisory committee meeting, which Sam is a member, on May 27th. Those meetings are open for anyone to join and listen in. The meeting materials are available on the project webpage in advance. And we will be discussing some of the maps that I just shared tonight. We also plan to update some of our natural resource inventories over the next couple months. We want to make sure that property owners in the area really have an opportunity to not only review what's been documented so far, but to have discussions, and we can answer questions if there are perhaps any changes that need to be made. And then we're also preparing for some, I'd say, pretty intense public engagement, ramping up, even though it'll still be virtual. In July and August, we will have updates with our council and planning commission. We'll have some online events that may be a combination of kind of a live webinar and maybe a survey that people can take on their own time. And we'll be holding some focus group discussions as well this summer. So this just shows, if anyone is interested in learning more, we have our project webpage. The Housing Options Project is the city's project looking at middle housing types. And then if anyone's curious about what might be going on in South Cooper Mountain in terms of new development, we also have a current projects page where you can see land use applications that have been approved or are under review. I'm going to stop sharing so I can actually see the chat here.
I can read some of these questions from the chat out loud. So we had a question from Fran. It says, how can you possibly plan lower income housing where public transportation is so inaccessible?
Yeah, we've been working closely with TriMet. They do plan to extend bus service to Mountainside High School. And right now, our goal is to really make sure that our design and mix of land uses in Cooper Mountain will support future transit service. There, of course, is I think a higher need for public transportation when we're looking at some of the lower housing developments. And so that's something that we hope to address through our conversations with affordable housing developers in the future as well. And I should also mention that there are a couple of affordable housing developments that are going to be constructed in South Cooper Mountain.
And then there was a question from Lisa. Is there any way to quantify density of new building to ensure that there is enough space between houses to have trees / green spaces / unpaved areas?
Yeah, that's it's really a central question to the Housing Options Project that we're trying to answer right now. House Bill 2001 is making us think a little differently about density because we are going to have a lot more flexibility in the housing types that are allowed. But I think particularly in Cooper Mountain, there are areas with steep slopes or near natural resources where we need to be really thoughtful in how we allow development in those areas, either so we can, preserve those natural resources and also not, I guess, avoid natural hazards. We don't want to allow really dense development in areas where it might be unsafe.
Then there's a question about, will the slides be accessible to folks after this meeting?
Yeah, happy to. We can send those to you, Marcus, after, if you're willing to forward them along.
Okay, I'll put my email in the chat, and folks that would like those can shoot me an email. And then sorry, go ahead.
I see the last question. So it looks like, are you bringing this area into the city before the comp plan is adopted? We do not plan to annex properties in the area until the community plan, which would include comprehensive plan changes, is complete. We have a deadline of December 31st, 2022 to adopt the community plan.
Can I jump in before there's any more questions? Okay, Carissa, I just want to thank you. Your talk was very, very good. And what I was going to say is, as I was looking through the development applications and mail for what I'm going to talk about later in the meeting, and your department is contributing quite a bit. And I want to thank you very, very much for coming, and definitely encourage you to come again when the time is right. And also, I want to thank Jessica very much for coming. And I'm kind of wondering if when we have that, you two make a good team, I kind of wonder if we should invite both of you together so that we could cover topics completely, unless it's better to go separately. But anyway, again, I just want to thank you very much. And like I said, I'm getting more and more mail from your department. And I want to thank you very, very much for coming. And Jessica, I want to thank you very, very much for coming also. So we can continue with questions.
All right, looks like one more question from Lisa. Is there discussion of mixed use development, houses/retail?
Yes, that is something that's still on the table. We're looking at potential for mixed use as well as live work options in Cooper Mountain.
Okay, well, that looks like it. Like Lyle said, thank you both for coming here. And if
Definitely.
yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like we're definitely gonna go past 8 o'clock a little bit to get through the rest of this tonight, which is okay. And Lyles, if you wanted to jump in. Oh, Commissioner Fye. I'm gonna say, go ahead.
Hi, Lyles. Hi, Marcus. Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm modeling public health now because I'm outside. I apologize with my mask. Lyles, I sent you an email. I was wondering if Chair Harrington and myself could come in the month of June, if we could be on the agenda.
Who is that? Yourself?
Myself and Chair Harrington.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we don't have a topic for June. That'd be fine. If that probably would work fine for Marcus also.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I don't think we need a lot of time. Probably 5 minutes for the chair and maybe 3 minutes for myself. So we won't take no more than 10.
Oh, okay. So if we come up with
unless the members have questions, obviously, but.
Well, it might. Marcus, would it be a good idea for us to have the two commissioners to come and update us on what's going on in the county in general and have some questions and answers? That sounds like a perfect meeting topic.
Yeah, I think
I don't have to have an instant answer. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I think the idea of y'all getting out of there in 10 minutes is not going to happen. So
I've been doing this for too long. I don't think it's going to happen either.
People are going to have lots of questions. So
yeah, especially hearing the questions the members had for the deputies and the sheriff's office, and then also hearing the two presentations. So yeah, I agree.
I think we've already got a meeting topic. Also, we're also hearing more and more from the city of Beaverton because things are happening around South Cooper Mountain. And Commissioner Nafisa, is that your district?
Yes, absolutely.
I know my CPO is your district. So yeah, that has to be That's perfect for CPO6.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you want, it might be packed, but we can try to invite Mayor Beatty too if you wanted to. But we can probably too much. Maybe we should just do June in Washington County, and then I'll plan on coming to the CPO meetings, but so I can invite the following month the Mayor of Beaverton if members had questions.
Okay, Marcus, help us keep track of that. Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay.
We've never had you come talk to CPO6, and I'm going to take the blame. It's not intentional.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I have to log out at 8 o'clock, so I wanted to make sure we're on the same page before I log out.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Lyles, if you wanted to give some quick updates before elections.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting information from the Aloha Inn. It's going to be permanent supportive housing. And we've already mentioned that. Someone had a question about it. It's going to be done through the Washington County Housing Authority. Yes, Washington County Housing Authority. And they've already had the neighborhood meeting. And so to learn more about it, I guess just keep in touch. I don't know if it's going to be on the county's website or not, but anyway, the Aloha Inn is going to be supportive housing. Oh, and they're going to have quite a bit of services at that facility also. Next, at this is modification for a replat of some lots. They're going to make some rearrange some of the things, and it is near on Ortiz Drive and Southwest 214th Avenue. It's dividing a lot into 5 lots and a couple duplex lots. Next is this is on the edge of the CPO. This is near the Nike property on the corner of Murray and Jenkins, also near the former Tektronix property. The reason I mention this is it's going to have 99 hazardous trees are going to be removed. So you'll definitely see something happening there. Next is there's two parcels at the corner of Grabhorn Road and English Drive that the county is working on getting recognized as parcels of record. I'm not a real estate person or a land use person, so I don't know what a lot of record is, but I think it means it's a legally recorded lot, and it means you can divide it or sell it and things like that. Next is for a 6-lot subdivision at the intersection, near the intersection of Southwest 178th Avenue and Augusta Lane. Also, many of you here in Aurora remember the Loopy's Escape Restaurant on TV Highway. We got a development application, and it's been approved for a new building to be put in there. They didn't say what exactly what's going to be. At 8350 Southwest 191st Avenue, and that's in here in Aloha. It's going to be a single-family residential subdivision. It's going to be detached housing, and it's on about 2.41 acres. At 21275 Southwest TV Highway, it's one of these things where they're calling the lot a lot of record and where it can be developable, and a towing company will be moving in there. We've got a lot of these as well, not too many, but we've got quite a few. At near the intersection of Shoals Ferry Road and Southwest 175th Avenue, the ladies just told us about that area. That's in South Cooper Mountain. There's areas in there, 32 acres have been annexed into Clean Water Services and also the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. Next, there's going to be near Southwest 175th Avenue and Shoals Ferry Road, 75 affordable apartment units. That's from the city of Beaverton. And like I say, we're probably hearing more and more things from the border between us and the city of Beaverton. And as we just learned, we're going to hear more. The next is a 96-unit multifamily residential development in 3 buildings. And that is at 15584 Southwest Shoals Ferry Road. And 6565 Southwest 175th Avenue will be a 2-parcel petition. And at 5605 Southwest 167th Avenue, another 2-parcel petition. Any questions on any of these? With what I read to you this evening and what's coming into the mailbox, our topic, Marcus, our topic was outstanding tonight. We're going to be hearing more and more from Casera, no doubt about that, and more and more about developments on the edge of CPO6 and Cooper Mountain, South Cooper Mountain.
So I have a question. I think she mentioned that in Beaverton, these development applications and everything are online, and there's some place online that we can go to look them up. The question I have is, does the county have that? Kind of something similar to that, where you can go online and look these up. So if Lyles brings up a subject for some address, can somebody go try to figure that out and get more information about it?
I haven't looked real close at the Beaverton's website, but yes, they do have the information. 2 of these things were from Beaverton's Planning Commission itself, not from our county. So I'm guessing that you can go to the city of Beaverton, to the Community Development Department, and search around on the internet, and you should be able to find these. That's a good point. Yeah, and just like you can find things on the county's website if you need to, or you can call someone and find out.
Sam, I just put in the chat.
This stuff is not a secret.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to. I don't know how much is published.
Yeah, I just put in the chat for Washington County. That's kind of land use transportation projects that are under review, and you can sort that by CPO.
Yeah, and looks like Sarah put the Beaverton link in there, but just to panelists. If you could repost that again for all panelists and attendees, then everybody could see that. And it was in her presentation, I think, too.
You could probably get on their website, get on their planning commission also.
Yeah, and Marcus just put it in there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, I definitely want us to get to elections, and so I will go ahead and run through this, and let me just kind of transparency in facilitation here. This is not a well-oiled machine over Zoom virtually, so I will appreciate you all working with us to be flexible with this. So. Before we go into nominations, I wanted to let folks know who is eligible to vote. So according to the CPO6 bylaws, membership is open. Membership and voting is open to any resident, property owner, or business owner 18 years of age or older within the boundaries of CPO6. So when we ask for voting tonight, we're kind of going to be using the honor system, right? If you're eligible to vote, we'll ask you to vote. If you're not eligible to vote, we'll ask you to not vote in that section. And so I'm just going to do a real quick description of the leadership positions. Before I do that, oh, never mind. I was going to say there's a hand raised, but never mind. A real quick description of the leadership positions. So there is the chairperson, and this is all according to the CPO6 bylaws. Duties of the chairperson. The chairperson shall coordinate the business and activities of the steering committee and the organization. They shall preside at all meetings of the steering committee and general membership and be the primary contact for and liaison with Washington County CPO program staff and others contacting the organization. The duties of the vice chairperson. The vice chairperson will assist the chairperson in their duties upon request. In the absence of the chairperson or in the event of their inability or refusal to act, the vice chairperson shall execute the duties and powers of the chairperson. And then, so coming up for these elections, our current chairperson, which is Lyles, and our current vice chairperson, Sam, are both stepping down. They've had a great run. It's been awesome working with y'all, and I'm looking forward to continue working with y'all as we go through transition. Our current secretary, Joy, is not currently interested in stepping down, but if folks want to nominate themselves for that position, the secretary records minutes of all general membership and steering committee meeting and maintains on file copies of said minutes, correspondence, membership list, attendance list, and other records. And then the last position would be a CCI rep. The Committee for Community Involvement, which is CCI, representatives shall attend monthly CCI meetings and report CCI activities back to the CCI steering committee. If unable to attend CCI meetings, the CCI representative shall contact the CPO chairperson so an alternate representative can attend. These positions are what you make of them. It's, Lyles, what would you say, between 1 to 3 hours a month of nitty gritty activity, or am I wrong in that estimation?
That's about right.
Okay. So there's been a couple of folks that have reached out to me that have shown interest, and essentially how we'll do this is you'll just nominate yourself, and so I'm gonna ask right now if anybody is interested in being in a leadership position with CPO6, use the raise hand feature right now, or put your name in the chat, or something along those lines. So the raise hand feature is at the bottom of your screen, and you can hit that button. It's either in the participants menu or in the reactions. Becky just asked, is this also for steering committee? Also, when does CCI meet? CCI meets on, I believe, the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday.
Yes, third Tuesday of the month. And a CCI rep is an elected position, just as is steering committee. So for steering committee, consists of the officers of the organization, at-large positions, including the representatives to the CCI, is that. And then I've seen Ken has their hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and promote Ken. Becky, is there something that you are interested in being part of the leadership team?
I'm sorry, everything rebooted on me. You just asked me a question?
No, I promoted you to panelist.
Oh, okay.
So I promoted Becky as well. So Becky and Ken are both interested in being part of leadership. Becky is interested in being a CCI rep as part of the CCI and steering committee. And then Ken, would you be interested in being a chairperson?
I was more interested in being the vice chair.
Vice chair.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
go ahead.
kind of hard to fill Lyle's shoes.
We've known each other a long time.
Right. I've known Sam for a little bit, and I'm sorry to see him step down. But anyway, I thought a good place for me to start would be the vice chair. That's my only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is something that is doable, absolutely, and we can. The one thing that's exciting about this is the CPO6 bylaws allow for there to be some wiggle room with it, right? So there can be different titles, right? Instead of maybe vice chair, maybe it's co-chair, maybe it's something along those lines, and so maybe we run a situation where you run as co-chair with Lyles while Lyles is transitioning out, or something along those lines. If that's something that Lyles would be agreeable to.
Yeah.
I would rather have a new chair and not being co-chair. Now, I'm not going to go away from the CPO. Don't get me wrong. I'll still be here.
I'm not leaving immediately. I'm moving out of Washington County to Multnomah County to be closer to our grandson. We're downsizing and moving into Portland, and we don't move until mid to end of August. And so I'm going to be around, coming to the meetings. I'll be whatever role I could be, co-chair, co-vice, whatever. I mean, the three of us, Lyles, me, and Ken, could, kind of work through and see where, split the responsibilities up for a while, train Ken how, to get comfortable at it. And, there's an awful lot of opportunities for that. So.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll run a vote, and instead of attaching titles to either of y'all, what we can do is vote for y'all to be in leadership positions, right? And so for Becky, that will look like, CCI/steering, and for Ken, that will look like some kind of chair type role, vice chair or co-chair, something along those lines, and then we can offline coordinate what that looks like. Does that sound fair to folks?
Yeah,
Okay.
Becky, you have anything to say?
I was just going to say hello. First of all, I'm Becky. Nice to meet all of you. I might be interested in taking on a bigger role, but it just kind of depends on, I don't know, it's kind of a big bite to take at the very beginning. So,
yeah. So what I'll have y'all do is just take a minute to introduce yourself, say how long you've lived in the CPO. If you live in the CPO, maybe you own a business out here, and why you're interested. So go ahead, Becky, if you want to get us started.
Great. I'm Becky Morinishi, and I live on North Cooper Mountain. I've lived here for about 15 years now. Before that, I lived in the Tannisbourne area for a few years. Originally grew up in Newport, though, so I'm from a small town on the coast. I am a mom of 5, 4 still at home. They all went through the Beaverton School District. I work for the Oregon Food Bank as a volunteer coordinator, so I run free food markets and volunteer shifts in the warehouse. I'm also a graduate student at PSU studying public administration with a focus in local government. And my passion is civic engagement, is just getting people engaged so they know what's going on in their communities.
Thank you. And Ken?
You bet. Well, name is, you can see, is Ken Seymour. I lived in the CPO6 area for 33 years, I believe. So I moved out here from Portland. Grew up in Portland. Went to University of Portland as an engineering graduate. Anyway, worked for Intel. Started a couple of companies. Long story short, I've always been interested in the developments of Cooper Mountain. Since I've moved here 33 years ago. It's been my home for a good half of my life. So I'm interested in participating in the development and participation in activities that benefit the CPO.
Okay. Well, thank you. So this is where I said work with me, folks that are still here in the meeting, in terms of this not being a super well-oiled machine virtually at this point. So if you are for the folks still in attendance, if you are a voting member of CPO6, can you please use the raise hand feature now? Just so I can kind of take account of this.
As a panelist, I don't have the raised hand functionality on my screen. I think those of us who...
this.
Yeah, right.
Sam, if you're the vice chair, you've got to be a voting member along with myself.
Well, I am for another few months, yeah.
All right.
I have to take my work hat off and become a community member now.
All right. So folks, go ahead and lower those hands.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Okay. Becky, you have excellent credentials. I've known Ken for a lot of years. He has excellent credentials, but he also mentioned that he might be interested in a co-position or co-chair, if I heard him correctly. I wonder if Becky could nominate herself for chair and Ken nominate himself for co-chair, or else someone else could nominate him. My hearing is iffy, but if I heard things correctly, am I close? Ken, I don't want to shortchange you, and I don't want to overload Becky. How's that for an excuse?
That's fine.
No, I think I would be okay with that. As long as we have some good transition time, Lyle.
Oh, yeah, nobody's going anywhere. There'll be we'll have months
Great.
and months of transition time. And, this might be a good excuse to get the steering committee meetings back together for at least a couple of months in between the CPO meetings, so that we can all kind of round robin and just kind of, learn the ropes and kind of slowly step away while you guys slowly pick it up, kind of thing.
Our only enemy is COVID-19, Sam.
Yeah,
But
right.
I like your idea.
Well, I've had all my shots. I'm perfectly willing to, meet in person somewhere. So
I'm vaccinated.
How close am I to reading what you were thinking? Are you okay with being vice chair?
Ken?
Oh, yes.
Or would you,
Yes.
both of you, do you prefer the co-chair title, or do you prefer chair and vice chair?
I prefer the vice chair, but
you prefer that? It's okay with you?
yeah, I mean, it's a stepping stone, right? So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Perhaps that's incorrect, but that's
You
fine.
can take on as much as you want to do.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marcus, could we consider my nomination a nomination?
Yes, yes, we can. All right, so we have a nomination, and we're going to call a vote on Becky as the new chair of CPO6. So if you are voting in favor of that, go ahead and raise your hand.
Oh, we do. I don't know if I have that or not.
you don't. You'll have to put your hand in the air.
All right, that's what I thought. How can I not vote for my idea?
Okay, thank you, folks. You guys can lower your hands. That is a passing vote. Congratulations. And then we will now vote for Ken as the vice chair of CPO6 of that same nomination. So go ahead and raise your hands if you are in favor of this. And another unanimous vote. Awesome. Thank you. So what I will do is, yes, this is really exciting. This was my first vote. Like,
And we have a secretary in place,
yes, Joy is the secretary.
and the steering committee can evolve.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what I will do is I will send an email out connecting all of us. I have both of your emails, Becky and Ken, and set up a meeting where we can all chat and figure out kind of next steps. And I can introduce myself more formally and talk about how we interact with y'all in terms of the county and start this journey off. So,
Okay.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you.
and thank you, Miles and Sam, for your awesome leadership the entire time that I have been involved with the CPO. So, keep on.
I've enjoyed it. Everybody's welcome.
I'll send that email out tonight because I am off tomorrow. Yes. Yes. Congrats. Thank you, Steve. Congrats.
We've already got our next month's topic set, so we're good there.
Yep. So yeah, your first meeting will be a big one with Chair Harrington and Commissioner Fox. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Coming in hot.
Yeah.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody, either folks, members of the community here, have things they want to say, or anybody panelists here have anything they want to say before we close the meeting for the night?
Just a quick question. Did we miss the fire department somehow?
I actually didn't even check if they have a new video, to be honest. Let me see.
If we have, that's okay. I mean, it's time to adjourn.
Yeah, we can play it next time if they do.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, they're always, they know that.
Yep.
Just like Cody knows she's welcome. Cody's department know they're welcome.
Well, they didn't have a new video anyway. The last video was from February, so
Oh, okay.
maybe I'll shoot an email to Sandra. And see if-
Okay.
And I'd just like to add too, I know Kira was talking about with the farmer's market, maybe trying to pop in again, maybe next week. So that might be a good opportunity for just like a 5-minute little, just check in with the community too for the farmer's market now that it's open.
Yeah, remind people that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. See ya. Bye-bye.
All right.